Hi there, join me in this video where I'm in my local town to see what I can photograph. Welcome to this video. It's the middle of January at the moment. I'm out in my local town and as you can see behind me, there's snow on the ground and it is bitterly cold. Now I've got a dental appointment later today, so I needed to come here a little bit early and I thought I'd make the most of the time and come out with my camera. Now I thought about setting myself a theme this morning, but because it's so cold, I just thought I would be creative and just take whatever I fancy. So I'm going to look around for things that interest me, and it's going to be a good way of practicing my observational skills. So come along with me because I know that I'm really going to enjoy my photography. So I'm starting off here in this churchyard, and they are always useful for photographic opportunities because you've got the gravestones and you've got the architecture of the buildings. So I'm going to have a wander around and just see what I can see here. So one of the beauties of photography is it can take you out of the everyday humdrum of life, and you can just spend some time focusing on your observational skills, looking for different things, maybe things that you've never seen before. Now, I grew up in this town, and so I would say I'm fairly familiar with it, but I always keep spotting new things when you take the time to just slow down and look for things. And that is the beauty of what a camera can provide. It can just give you that opportunity to notice things you've never noticed before, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of calmness, and you might even get some good photographs as well. But the photographs at the end of the day this morning are not the most important thing for me. It's taking my time and just looking and thinking creatively, and if I do get any good photographs, that's just going to be an absolute bonus. I do find some of this architecture really interesting. This one particular image just here seems almost mythical. The character seems to have gills. It looks like something out of a Marvel movie and not really something that you'd expect to see on a church. So I'd love to know the story behind why the stonemason decided to carve this. And there are other interesting animals and people all the way around the building that are just as interesting. Now this morning I seem to be heavily drawn towards architecture, and I suppose that's understandable because I'm in a town this morning. There's lots of opportunities to look for things that are architectural, and here's another really good example. Here behind me is the town's war memorial. It was built by a local businessman in memory of his son who died in the First World War. It's a very prominent centrepiece of the town, and it's known locally as the Monument, but officially it's called the Nicholson War Memorial, and it stands at 90 feet high. There are so many signs of history in the town, and these steps outside the shop really show their age because of the amount of wear that they have on them. And then we've got some lovely old buildings as well, several half-timbered buildings, and this particular one here was built in 1883 by Hugh Slay, who was a silk manufacturer in the town for his family, and it was built in the arts and crafts style. Then it was renovated by the owners a century later, and it has outstanding chimneys which are celebrated by the Chimney Pot Preservation Society. I'm now stood in the graveyard of the oldest church in the town, and there's fascinating history around here. Just looking at some of the gravestones, the earliest that I've found is 1766. That's just phenomenal to think just how long ago some of those people were alive. And it's really quite interesting looking around at this wonderful architecture as well.
The town became really prosperous during the Victorian era thanks to the textile industry, and all over the town there are many mills. Some are standing vacant, but many have been converted into housing, so you can still see some of the original features on this building here, which is now being converted into flats and apartments.
This is a really quirky little building here behind me, and it used to be a public toilet. Now when I was younger I do remember it being open, but it's not been open for quite a while, so it just stands disused at the moment.
A common sight in Britain is a red postbox, but this particular one is a George VI postbox. Now that obviously dates back to the reign of George VI, who was Queen Elizabeth II's father, and he died in 1952, so this is quite an old postbox. Then also here we have a very old building which dates back to 1859, and the blue plaque that's on the building says that this is the place where the Leek and Moreland Cooperative Society opened their first grocery and provisions shop.
One thing that you do tend to find in old towns like this is real juxtapositions between the old and the new. Here is a building that was built in 1875, which is really nice and architecturally interesting, and then underneath is a Domino's pizza. Another side of photography that is often overlooked is just the record shot. I quite often like to take photographs of my local town just as a record of what it's like today, because it changes over time. And when you look back at old photographs from years ago, they're really fascinating to see how they change. And if we don't take photographs today, then we won't have them for the future. So these lovely buildings here behind me are almshouses, and they were built in 1882, and a little smattering of snow does just help to make them look even more picturesque.
The final part of the morning I was drawn to the cemetery. It's a fascinating place to visit because of the architecture and the interesting statues that you can see around the place. I was drawn to this particular monument that commemorates Reverend Heathcote. Now he spent 10 years as a curate in Liverpool and then 38 years as a vicar of the parish of Leek, and he died in 1860. Then I was drawn to this monument, and it was just the intricacy of the stonework. It was obviously built to commemorate somebody who was very nautical, because there's an anchor and chains and ropes carved into it. But you can see from this chain here how much detail has gone into the carving.
What a lovely little place I found here. It's part of the cemetery in Leek, and it's a little chapel where people place flowers to remember loved ones. So it's quite moving, but it is really, really beautiful. Hope you've enjoyed that video. It's been something a little bit different, and it just goes to show that no matter where you live, you can get out and find something really interesting to photograph. And it doesn't matter if it's not an award-winning photograph, as long as you enjoy the process and you use the time to just practice some skills and develop your photography techniques. It's just all going to be useful, and it's going to be a great way of spending a morning. Well, if you have enjoyed that video, do let me know down below in the comments, or nip over to my Instagram or Vero account, that's at Darrell Oakden Photography. Leave me your comments there, and you can also see lots of my photographs. Now, if you like what I do on the channel or want to help support me to make future content like this, then you can also leave via the gift shop. That's at Teespring. There I've got a range of merchandise on offer, so head off over there, because a purchase really does help me out and it's very much appreciated. But you don't have to spend any money at all to support the channel. You can do that simply by clicking like, subscribe and the bell notifications. It really helps me out, and it makes sure that you don't miss out on any future content. Watch out for next week's video. That goes live on Sunday. In the meantime, go and check out this video just up here. But all that's left now is to say, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.